The morning my youngest daughter pulled out the clippers and shaved her big sister's head, I thought I was living in a nightmare. Who does something like that, especially on prom day? At first, I was furious. But looking back now, it was the best thing she ever did. That crazy act ended up saving her sister's life. My name's Laura, and I live with my husband, Daniel, and our 2 daughters, Emma, who's 17, and Chloe, who just turned 13. To the outside world, we're your typical suburban family, soccer games, PTA meetings, late-night fast food runs. But under the surface, my girls were carrying a secret that I didn't even realize until it all came crashing out that morning. Emma had been dating a boy named Tyler for about 8 months. He was the golden boy of our high school, quarterback, charming smile, the kind of kid every mom thinks is polite when he shakes your hand at the door. At first, I thought he was good for Emma. He made her laugh, picked her up for school, and even sat at our dinner table more times than I can count. But Chloe, she never liked him. From the beginning, she'd give me this look whenever he walked in. I thought it was just little sister jealousy. Turns out, Chloe was the only one really paying attention. The day before prom, Emma came home with her hair freshly styled. She'd spent half her babysitting money on getting it professionally done. She looked beautiful, but she also looked nervous. Like her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. I chalked it up to excitement. She told me Tyler had a big night planned for them after prom. That evening, I was in the kitchen making dinner when Chloe came stomping in, arms crossed, her face red. "Mom," she said, "I don't want Emma going out with Tyler tomorrow." I laughed it off. "Chloe, you don't get to decide that. It's her prom night." But Chloe wouldn't let it go. "You don't understand. Something bad is gonna happen." I heard him talking to his friends. I stopped chopping onions and looked at her. "What do you mean, you heard him?" She shifted, nervous. "He called Emma when they were in the living room last week, and I was on the stairs. He told his buddy he was bringing something extra to the after party. Said he wanted Emma to relax more this time." My stomach tightened. "Chloe, why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because you don't listen when it's about Tyler," she snapped, tears welling in her eyes. "Nobody does. But I'm telling you, Mom, he's not who you think he is. He's gonna hurt her." I wanted to believe Chloe was exaggerating. I wanted to believe Tyler was just a dumb teenage boy running his mouth. But something in her voice made me pause. Still, before I could press her for details, Emma came breezing through the front door, humming and showing off her nails. Chloe clammed up instantly. She didn't want Emma to know she'd overheard anything. And that's when she came up with her plan. The next morning was chaos, the usual prom day whirlwind. Emma was in the bathroom doing her makeup, curling lashes, playing music way too loud. Chloe was unusually quiet, hovering like a storm cloud. When Emma finally sat down in her room to put on her dress, Chloe walked in holding the clippers from Daniel's tool bench. Emma laughed. "What are you doing with those?" "Practicing to be a barber." Chloe didn't laugh. She plugged them in, her hands shaking. "You're not going to prom," she said. Emma frowned. "Excuse me." And before anyone could react, Chloe pressed those clippers to Emma's head and took a huge strip right down the middle of her scalp. Hair fell into Emma's lap in chunks. She screamed so loud I dropped the dish I was washing and ran down the hall. By the time I got there, half of Emma's long brown hair was gone and Chloe was crying, shouting, "You can't go with him. You can't." I ripped the clippers out of her hands, my heart pounding. "Chloe, what in the world?" Emma was sobbing, clutching at the bald patches on her head. "She ruined everything. Mom, do something." Chloe's face was wet with tears. "I had to. You don't understand. If she goes, he's gonna hurt her." At first, I thought she'd lost her mind. But something about the raw panic in Chloe's voice made me stop cold. This wasn't jealousy. This wasn't a tantrum. This was fear. Daniel rushed in behind me, stunned at the scene. He grabbed Chloe's shoulders gently and tried to calm her down. "Sweetheart, talk to us. What's going on?" Between sobs, Chloe spilled everything: the overheard phone call, the way she'd seen bruises on Emma's arms weeks ago, the way Tyler always texted Emma nonstop when she was with friends, demanding to know where she was. Emma tried to protest, but her face betrayed her. She wouldn't meet our eyes. And suddenly, I realized Chloe wasn't just making this up. I turned to Emma. "Honey, is it true? Did Tyler hurt you?" Silence. Emma's lip trembled, and then she crumbled. "He didn't mean to. He just gets mad sometimes." Those words hit me like a punch to the chest. All the pieces clicked, the nervous smiles, the long sleeves in warm weather, the way she'd brushed off questions. Daniel sat down hard on the bed, his face pale. "Oh my God." Emma cried harder. "I thought I could fix it. I thought if I loved him enough, he'd stop." And right there, in that messy bedroom, littered with prom dresses and hair on the floor, our world flipped upside down. Chloe threw her arms around Emma. "I couldn't let him do worse. I don't care if you hate me forever. At least you're safe." Emma clung to her sister, sobbing. And that's when I realized Chloe's desperate, reckless act wasn't just about ruining a dance. It was about saving her sister from something far darker than we'd let ourselves see. That was the moment I knew prom night wasn't just a high school milestone anymore. It was life or death. And we were only beginning to uncover just how dangerous Tyler really was. The house felt like it was on fire after Chloe's confession. Emma locked herself in the bathroom, refusing to come out, while Chloe sat on the hallway floor hugging her knees, shaking. Daniel and I stood in the middle, shell-shocked, trying to figure out what the hell to do. I knocked on the bathroom door softly. "Emma, sweetheart, please open up. We just want to talk." Her muffled voice came through, broken by sobs. "No, you'll never understand. He loves me. He just gets mad sometimes. Everyone fights." I pressed my forehead against the door, fighting back tears. "Sweetheart, being scared of the person who's supposed to love you isn't normal. That's not love." The silence that followed was heavier than any scream. Finally, Emma cracked the door just enough to peek out. Mascara streaked down her cheeks, her hair butchered. "If people find out, I'll be ruined. Tyler will hate me. Everyone at school will call me a liar." Daniel stepped forward, his voice low but firm. "Emma, nobody who truly loves you would ever make you feel this way. And if the school or his friends can't see that, then they're the ones in the wrong." Chloe jumped in, her voice still shaking. "He was gonna drug you, Emma. I heard him say it. You'd be dead or worse right now if you went with him tonight." Emma froze, her eyes darting between us. "You're lying." But Chloe shook her head. "I swear on my life. I heard him. He said he got something from his cousin. He laughed about how you wouldn't be able to say no." The color drained from Emma's face. She sank down onto the floor, her arms wrapping around her stomach. That was it for me. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands and dialed the police. "Daniel tried to stop me, Laura. Are you sure we want to do this?" But I wasn't backing down. Our daughter's in danger. We're not waiting around. The officer on the line was calm, methodical. He said they'd send someone to take our statement and that we should make sure Emma was safe at home. I hung up, my heart hammering. But Emma wasn't safe, not really. Not if Tyler was out there planning whatever sick thing he had in mind. That night, around 9 p.m., headlights swept across our driveway. Daniel looked out the window and cursed under his breath. Tyler's car. Emma bolted for the door before we could stop her, throwing it open. "Tyler, don't. Just leave." He was standing on the porch, his perfect boy smile twisted into something dark. "What the hell happened to your hair? Did your psycho sister do that? I told you to keep her out of our business." Daniel stepped in front of Emma so fast I barely saw him move. His voice was like steel. "You need to leave. Right now." Tyler smirked, hands in his pockets like he owned the place. "Or what? You're gonna hit me, old man? Everyone knows you've got a temper." Emma told me all about it. Emma flinched like she'd been slapped. He was twisting the knife, using her trust against her. I pulled Emma back inside, shutting the door in his face. He pounded on it twice, then laughed and walked away. My stomach turned at the sound. That laugh didn't belong to a kid. It belonged to someone who enjoyed control. 5 minutes later, a squad car pulled into the driveway. 2 officers came inside, notepads ready. Detective Harris, a woman in her early 40s with sharp eyes, listened as Chloe explained what she'd overheard. "Did you record it? Write it down? Anything we can use?" Harris asked gently. Chloe shook her head, ashamed. "I just remembered every word. I swear I'm not lying." The detective nodded. "I believe you. And what you did this morning, shaving your sister's head, that tells me you were desperate. You wanted to keep her safe." Emma sat curled up on the couch, refusing to meet anyone's eyes. Harris crouched in front of her. "Emma, has Tyler ever put his hands on you? You don't have to be ashamed. We just need the truth." Emma's voice cracked. "Sometimes he grabs me, but it's not like what you think. He doesn't mean it." "Sweetheart," Harris said softly, "that's exactly what I think. And that's not okay." She took our statements, gave us her card, and promised to follow up. "If he contacts you again, any calls, texts, notes, save everything. Don't delete a single word." After they left, Daniel and I sat in the kitchen, both of us too wired to sleep. He slammed his fist lightly against the table. "I should have seen it. I should have known. My own daughter, and I didn't protect her." I grabbed his hand, squeezing hard. "Don't. This isn't about blame. Right now, we have to focus on keeping her safe. Both of them." But Emma wasn't making it easy. The next morning, she begged us not to press charges. "If you tell the school, if this gets out, my life is over. Everyone will say I made it up because of Chloe." I shook my head. "Emma, this isn't just about you. If he did this to you, he'll do it to someone else." And that was the moment I saw the tiniest flicker of doubt in her eyes. The first crack in Tyler's grip. Later that day, Chloe came running into the living room with Emma's phone. "Mom, look." On the screen was a text from Tyler. "You think you can humiliate me? You'll regret this. Don't forget I know where you live." Daniel's face went red with rage. "That's it. He crossed the line." I took a screenshot, forwarded it straight to Detective Harris, and my hands shook as I hit send. She replied in minutes. "Thank you. Keep everything. We're building a case. Don't let her be alone with him. Ever." Emma sat pale and silent on the couch, staring at the floor. For the first time, I think she realized Tyler wasn't going to stop until someone forced him to. And that someone was going to be us. The school week started with a storm we couldn't stop. Emma walked into homeroom Monday morning and the whispers started immediately. Girls stared. Boys snickered. Someone muttered, "Tyler's ex looks like a cancer patient." She held her head high, but when she got home that afternoon, she slammed her backpack onto the floor and shouted, "I can't go back there. Everyone's calling me a freak." Chloe stepped forward, guilt flooding her face. "Emma, I'm sorry. I thought I was saving you, not ruining your life." Emma spun on her. "You ruined everything. Tyler's the only one who ever cared about me, and now he hates me because of you." I cut in, my voice sharp. "Emma, enough. He doesn't care about you. He controls you. That's not love, it's abuse." Daniel added quietly, "And if your classmates can't see that, they're blind. We'll deal with the school." That afternoon, we met with Principal Matthews and the school counselor. I laid out everything, the texts, the threats, Chloe's testimony. Detective Harris had already sent over a report. Matthews frowned. We had no idea Tyler was involved like this. He's always been a model student, athletics debate team. Daniel leaned forward, his voice like thunder. "I don't care how many trophies he's won. He threatened my daughter. What are you going to do about it?" The counselor promised increased supervision and offered to move Emma's classes, but I could see the hesitation in their eyes. Tyler was the golden boy. People like him don't get punished until they do something unforgivable. 2 days later, Tyler proved us right. A teacher found Emma crying in the girls' bathroom after someone had shoved a nasty note into her locker. "Liar. Slut. Nobody wants you." When she came home, she shoved the note at me with shaking hands. "He's turning everyone against me. You don't get it, he owns this school." Before I could answer, headlights flared in the driveway. My stomach dropped. I peeked through the blinds and felt cold wash over me. Not Tyler. Worse. A tall man in a tailored suit stepped out of a black Mercedes, his jaw clenched. He looked like Tyler 25 years older, with the same smug arrogance radiating off him. Julian Marks, Tyler's father, and one of the most powerful attorneys in the county. Daniel opened the door before I could stop him. Julian didn't bother with greetings. He pushed his way into our living room like he owned it. "This has gone far enough," he said, his voice smooth as glass. "You've poisoned my son's reputation with wild accusations. Teenagers fight, they make mistakes. But calling the police? That's slander. You're destroying his future." Daniel's fists curled at his sides. "Your son is a predator. He threatened our daughter. We have the texts. We have the evidence." Julian's smile never wavered. "Texts can be fabricated. Teenage girls lie when they're embarrassed. My son's been accepted into 3 top colleges. Do you really want to be responsible for ripping that away over high school drama?" Emma shrank into the couch, tears streaking down her face. "Dad, stop. Maybe he's right. Maybe I overreacted." Chloe jumped up, her small frame trembling, but her voice fierce. "No, Emma, you didn't. He was going to drug you. He laughed about it. Why don't you believe me?" Julian turned his gaze on Chloe, icy and dismissive. "And you expect anyone to trust the word of a jealous little sister? Please." That did it. I stood up so fast my chair scraped across the floor. "Get out. Now." He leaned in close, his cologne choking me. "I'll bury you in lawsuits. Defamation. Custody petitions. You think the cops care? They know who I am. You can't touch us." Daniel stepped between us, his voice calm but dangerous. "If you threaten my family again, I'll make sure every news outlet in this state hears exactly what your son has been doing. Try me." Julian's jaw twitched. He turned on his heel and left, slamming the door behind him. For a long time, none of us moved. The only sound was Emma's quiet sobbing. That night, I emailed every screenshot of Tyler's threats to Detective Harris. I told her about Julian's intimidation. She wrote back almost immediately, "You did the right thing. I'll fast-track this. Don't let Emma out of your sight until we get protective measures in place." But the damage was already spreading. The next morning, kids at school were chanting "Bald Barbie" when Emma walked down the hallway. She called me from the bathroom, begging to come home. When I picked her up, I found Chloe sitting cross-legged on the curb outside, holding Emma's hand. "I'll never leave you alone," she whispered to her sister. It broke me and healed me at the same time. That evening, Detective Harris showed up at our door again, folder in hand. She sat us down at the kitchen table, her tone all business. "Here's where we stand. The DA is reviewing the threats. With Chloe's testimony and these texts, we have enough to pursue charges. But I need Emma to make a statement on record. Without her cooperation, this case is harder." Emma shook her head violently. "No. If I say anything, Tyler will ruin me. His dad will destroy us." Harris leaned forward, her voice soft. "Emma, I've seen this before. If we don't stop him now, he'll hurt someone else. Maybe worse." Emma's eyes filled with tears, but she stayed silent. Daniel reached across the table, placing his hand over hers. "Sweetheart, this isn't just about Tyler anymore. This is about you. About your life. About never letting anyone control you again." For the first time, I saw a spark in Emma's eyes. A tiny flicker of strength. But before she could answer, Chloe blurted out, "If Emma won't talk, then I will. I don't care what Tyler's dad says. I'll tell the truth." The room went silent. Detective Harris nodded slowly. "Then that's where we start." And just like that, our youngest daughter, barely a teenager, had become the strongest voice in the room. But deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. Tyler wasn't going to let us walk away without a fight. And neither was his father. Detective Harris moved quickly after Chloe's statement. Within 2 days, Emma had an appointment at the hospital with a trauma specialist. The waiting room smelled like disinfectant and old coffee. Emma sat with her hoodie pulled over her shaved head, her leg bouncing furiously. Chloe sat beside her, clutching her sister's hand like she was the anchor keeping Emma from floating away. When the nurse called Emma's name, she froze. I don't want people poking at me," Emma whispered. Chloe squeezed tighter. "I'll go with you. We'll do it together." The exam was brutal, not physically, but emotionally. The doctor gently examined her arms, legs, and stomach, cataloging every fading bruise and scar. He took photographs, dictating measurements in a detached medical voice that made my blood boil. Each flash of the camera was like a spotlight on the things Emma had tried so hard to hide. At one point, Emma flinched and pulled away. "Stop. I can't. I don't want to do this." The doctor stepped back. "It's okay, Emma. You're in control here. We'll only go as far as you're comfortable." Chloe reached up and brushed her sister's cheek with her tiny hand. "Em, you're braver than you think. This isn't for them, it's for you. So no one can ever say it didn't happen." Emma's eyes filled with tears. Slowly, she nodded. "Okay, keep going." By the end of the exam, the file was thick. Photographs, notes, a paper trail of Tyler's violence that no lawyer could erase. That night, Detective Harris came by again, spreading the documents across our kitchen table. This is strong evidence. Combined with the texts, Chloe's testimony, and the audio from her recorder, we have a case the DA can't ignore. Emma frowned. "You make it sound like Tyler's already guilty. But what if the jury believes him? What if they believe his dad?" Harris leaned forward, her voice steady. "Juries don't just look at lawyers, Emma. They look at people. And you have something Tyler doesn't: courage. Truth. That's what matters." For the first time in weeks, Emma looked her straight in the eyes. "I'm not ready to talk, but I don't want Chloe fighting my battles alone. When the time comes, I'll testify." Chloe broke into a grin. "I knew it. I knew you'd find your voice again." Daniel reached across the table, pride glistening in his eyes. "That's my girl." But as hope began to bloom, so did the danger. 2 days later, Emma came home pale and shaking. She threw her backpack onto the floor, pulled out a crumpled note, and shoved it into my hands. "Tyler misses you. He says you're nothing without him. Don't betray him again, or you'll regret it." The handwriting wasn't Tyler's. It was one of his basketball teammates. That night, Emma couldn't stop pacing her room. "He's not even scared of the cops. He'll always find a way to get to me." We called Detective Harris immediately. She took one look at the note and sighed. "This is a violation of the protective order. I'll add it to the file." Emma shook her head. "It won't matter. His dad will cover it up." But Harris's voice hardened. "Every violation makes the case stronger. Tyler thinks he's untouchable. That arrogance is exactly what will take him down." Still, the harassment escalated. Anonymous notes in Emma's locker. Messages slipped into her textbooks. Even whispers in the hall from kids saying, "Tyler wants you back," or "He's sorry, give him another chance." Emma stopped eating. She stayed up at night with the light on, jumping at every creak of the house. Chloe started crawling into her bed again, whispering stories until Emma finally drifted off to sleep. One afternoon, I found Chloe at the kitchen table with markers and construction paper. She was making little cards, bright colors, doodles of flowers and stars. Inside each one she wrote, "You're brave. You're strong. You deserve to be safe." She stacked them neatly in a box. "For the women's shelter," she explained. Detective Harris said some kids have to leave their homes in a hurry. I thought maybe this would help them feel less alone. Tears stung my eyes. My youngest, barely 12, was carrying the weight of the world and still finding ways to bring light to others. Meanwhile, the DA's office scheduled a pre-trial hearing. Daniel and I sat down with Emma and Chloe the night before, explaining what would happen. Emma's hands trembled. What if Tyler looks at me? What if I freeze? Chloe reached into her backpack and pulled out the little tape recorder she'd used to catch Tyler's threats. She slid it across the table. "Then just remember, he's not the one with the power anymore. You are. You always were. This is proof." Emma picked it up, running her thumb over the worn plastic. Slowly, her shoulders straightened. "Okay, I'll do it. The next morning, we walked into the courthouse together. The air was thick with tension. Tyler sat across the aisle in a pressed shirt and tie, trying to look like the perfect son. His father sat beside him, smug and unshakable. But when Chloe took the stand, her voice clear and steady, the cracks began to show. She explained how she'd overheard Tyler's threats, how she'd seen Emma's bruises, and why she shaved her sister's head that night. The courtroom went silent as the prosecutor pressed play on Chloe's recording. Tyler's voice filled the room, laughing, cruel, bragging about drugging Emma's drink. Julian Marks jumped to his feet. Objection. Illegal recording, inadmissible. The judge cut him off sharply. Your client was recorded in a private residence where he had no expectation of privacy. The evidence stands. Tyler's face went red. He leaned toward his lawyer, whispering furiously. Emma gripped my hand so tightly my knuckles went white. For the first time, I saw something new in her eyes when she looked at Tyler, not fear. Disgust, anger, resolve. As we left the courthouse that day, Emma whispered, "He's not untouchable anymore. He's just a bully with a rich dad." And I realized for the first time since this nightmare began, my daughter was finally starting to believe she could win. The day of the trial felt heavier than any storm I've ever walked through. Rain poured outside the courthouse, streaking the windows like tears. Emma wore the dress she'd bought for prom months earlier, back when she thought life was still normal. She told me she wanted to wear it in court, to show Tyler he hadn't stolen everything from her. When we walked into the courtroom, it was standing room only. Tyler sat at the defense table in a crisp suit, his father beside him like a shadow. Julian Marks smirked at us, as if the outcome had already been bought and paid for. But when the jury filed in, I caught the look on their faces. They weren't here to be swayed by money. They were here for the truth. The prosecution started with the evidence. Photos of bruises, medical reports, the text Tyler sent Emma, calling her worthless one moment and begging forgiveness the next. The tape recording Chloe had captured, played again for the jury, making them shift uncomfortably in their seats. Tyler's lawyer tried to spin it. This is just teenage drama. Lovers' quarrels. Nothing criminal here. But then it was Emma's turn. She walked to the stand, her pixie short hair glowing under the fluorescent lights. Her hands trembled as she swore to tell the truth. But when she sat down, something in her changed. Her voice was quiet at first, but steady. She told them about the bruises, about being shoved into lockers at school, about the night Chloe shaved her head and how furious she'd been until she realized her sister had saved her from something far worse. Tyler stared at her the whole time, his jaw clenched. But Emma didn't look away. Not once. The defense attorney tried to rattle her. Emma, isn't it true you stayed in this relationship? That you kept going back to Tyler even after these supposed incidents? Emma's eyes narrowed. Yes, because that's what abusers do. They make you think you're nothing without them. They convince you it's love when it's really control. I was scared, but I'm not scared anymore. The courtroom was silent. One juror dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Then the prosecutor called Chloe. My youngest walked up in her favorite dress, her hair pulled back with a unicorn clip. She looked so small up there, but when she raised her hand to swear in, she did it with the seriousness of a soldier going to battle. Chloe, the prosecutor said gently, "Can you tell the court why you shaved your sister's head the night of prom?" Chloe swallowed hard. Her voice wavered at first, but then it found its rhythm. Because I heard Tyler talking about putting stuff in her drink at the party. I heard him say he was going to hurt her. And I was so scared nobody would believe me. I didn't know what else to do. So I shaved her head so she couldn't go. I just wanted her safe. The prosecutor pressed play on the tape recorder again. Tyler's voice filled the courtroom, bragging about getting Emma drunk, about making sure she couldn't say no this time. One older man on the jury shook his head in disgust. Another woman clasped her hands tightly in her lap. Tyler's lawyer leapt up again. Your Honor, this recording is illegal. But the judge cut him off. Overruled. The recording stands. Chloe looked right at the jury, tears streaming down her face. Grown-ups don't always believe kids. So I made sure they had to believe me. By the time she stepped down, half the courtroom was crying, including me. The final blow came when Detective Harris testified. She described finding the pills under Tyler's car seat. She explained how Emma's protective order had been violated again and again by Tyler's friends delivering notes. And then she read the statements from two other girls, both of them describing the same cycle of violence, manipulation, and expensive gifts used to buy silence. The jury deliberated for nearly 5 hours. We sat in the hallway, drinking bad vending machine coffee and staring at the floor, jumping every time the doors opened. When they finally called us back in, my heart nearly stopped. The foreman stood, voice steady. On the charge of assault, guilty. On the charge of conspiracy to commit sexual assault, guilty. On the charge of possession of controlled substances with intent to distribute, guilty. Tyler's face went pale. His mother gasped. Julian slammed his fist against the table, but it didn't matter. The verdict was final. 3 weeks later, we returned for sentencing. The judge looked directly at Tyler, her expression cold and unyielding. You are a danger to those around you. And while your father's influence has protected you in the past, it will not protect you here. Actions have consequences. She sentenced him to 2 years in juvenile detention, followed by 3 years of probation, mandatory counseling, and a permanent restraining order banning him from any contact with Emma. Julian exploded. This is ridiculous. You're ruining a promising young man's future over a teenage relationship spat. But the judge didn't even blink. No, Mr. Marks. Your son ruined his own future. Court is adjourned. That night, when we got home, Emma collapsed onto the couch. For the first time in months, she wasn't trembling. She wasn't pacing. She just exhaled. Chloe curled up beside her, head on her sister's shoulder. See, Em? We won. Emma kissed the top of her little sister's head. No, Chloe. You won. You saved me. And in that moment, I realized something I'd missed through all the chaos. My daughters had found their voices, their strength, and their bond again. Tyler was gone, and for the first time, our family could finally breathe. Outside the courthouse after sentencing, Julian Marks cornered us in the parking lot. His face was red, his jaw tight. He hissed that we had destroyed his son's future and that appeals were already being filed. He called us liars, manipulators, and worse. My husband stepped forward, calm as ice. No, Julian. Your son destroyed his own future. And maybe if you'd been more of a father instead of a lawyer, he wouldn't be sitting in a cell right now. For a second, I thought Julian might actually swing at him. But there were cops everywhere, and instead he just spun on his heel and stormed off to his Mercedes. That was the last time we ever saw him. Something shifted in Emma almost immediately after Tyler was gone. The shadows under her eyes lightened. She slept through the night without waking up in terror. She stopped flinching when doors slammed or when someone raised their voice. Slowly, my daughter started coming back to life. And then she surprised me. She told me she wanted to speak out. At first, I didn't understand. Emma, you've been through so much already. You don't have to do anything more. But she shook her head. Mom, I have to. If I don't, then it feels like he still wins. I want other girls to know what I didn't, that abuse isn't love, and that they can get out before it's too late. With the help of her school counselor, Emma organized a series of assemblies. The first time she stood on that stage in front of her classmates, her hands shook, but her voice didn't falter. She told them how Tyler had isolated her, made her think she was worthless, convinced her it was all her fault. And then she told them how Chloe had shaved her head and, in doing so, saved her life. When the assembly ended, 3 girls came up to her privately, whispering about their own situations, asking how they could get help. Emma's story was already making ripples. The school board took notice, too. They called a special meeting and voted to overhaul their entire policy on dating violence. Teachers and staff were trained to recognize warning signs. New reporting protocols were put in place. And starting the next semester, every student in health class would learn about healthy relationships, boundaries, and consent. The principal admitted that until Emma's case, they had been blind to just how widespread the problem was. At home, life slowly knitted itself back together. Emma's hair grew back in soft patches at first, and she would run her fingers across the fuzz absent-mindedly. For a while, she wore hats and scarves, but then one day she looked in the mirror, smiled, and told me she liked it short. It made her feel strong. She said it reminded her every day that Chloe loved her enough to do something drastic, and that she was strong enough to survive anything. Chloe found her own way forward, too. Her apology letter to Emma had been just the beginning. Soon, she was volunteering with me at the women's shelter, making care packages for families who had to leave everything behind. She decorated the boxes with her drawings and tucked notes inside that said things like, "You are brave and you deserve to feel safe." The shelter coordinator told me those little notes were what made the women smile even on their darkest days. The girls grew closer than I had ever seen them. Sunday nights became family night, with cookies on the table and open conversations about school, friends, therapy, or anything on their minds. Emma slowly began sharing her anxieties again, even the small ones, like being nervous about a math test. Chloe proudly showed us her art therapy sketches and explained what each color meant about her feelings that week. For the first time in a long time, our kitchen was filled with laughter instead of fear. 6 months passed in a blur of therapy sessions, court updates, and healing. Emma joined the debate team and started winning competitions. She said finding her voice there made her feel powerful. Chloe launched a campaign at school about recognizing the warning signs of abuse, making posters and getting approval for age-appropriate assemblies all the way down to elementary kids. She even won a citizenship award for her efforts. At the ceremony, she wore her best dress and gave a speech that made half the auditorium cry. "Protecting the people you love means speaking up," she said, her voice ringing clear. "Even if it's scary, even if no one believes you at first." Detective Harris kept in touch with us, calling every few weeks. She always asked about the girls before talking about legal updates. She told us Tyler had already gotten into multiple fights at the detention center, attacking smaller kids the way he used to attack Emma. His violent behavior even got his release date pushed back. His father tried appealing his conviction twice, but both times the judge shut him down. Tyler was finally facing consequences he couldn't escape. By the time Emma's graduation came, her hair had grown into a stylish pixie cut. She learned to accessorize with clips. She crossed the stage as salutatorian, the crowd cheering as if she were the only one there. In her speech, she talked about finding strength in unexpected places and how asking for help isn't weakness, but the bravest thing a person can do. Then she paused, turned toward Chloe, and said, "To my little sister, thank you for saving my life." Chloe burst into tears, happy ones this time. College acceptance letters rolled in, and Emma chose a school 3 hours away, far enough to be independent, close enough to come home when she needed. She even signed up for a self-defense class that summer and convinced her new friend Eric from her support group to take it with her. For once, I didn't see fear in her eyes when she talked about the future. I saw excitement. The night before she left for college, I found Emma curled up in Chloe's bed like when they were little girls. They were tangled together, Chloe's arm protectively draped over her big sister even in sleep. In the morning, when we loaded the car, Emma hugged Chloe tight and whispered something that made them both laugh and cry at the same time. Looking back at everything that happened since that night, when Chloe shaved her sister's head before prom, I realized that desperate act of love had been the turning point. The moment everything shifted. The moment Emma was saved from something much darker than just missing a dance. Our family learned something powerful through it all. Protecting the people you love sometimes means doing hard, messy, even crazy things. Things nobody else understands at the time. But sometimes, those are the very things that save lives. Thanks for walking through this story with me. It's been a journey of fear, pain, love, and survival, but most of all, of hope. Until next time, and hey, if this story moved you, don't forget to like the video.